There are many hidden Easter eggs in Lumber Tycoon 2. Strange NPCs, connections with other games, subscribe to me? Anyways, the Easter egg that tends to go unrecognized is also one of the newest, which doesn't really say much since to learn about it, we need to go all the way back to 2018. The date is May 13th, 2018, and Lumber Tycoon 2 had just received the largest update in years, the Taiga Peak. This update saw the introduction of Frostwood, as well as a boatload of bug fixes and exploit patches. However, one hidden Easter egg unmentioned by most players was also added in this update, positioned directly under the brand new biome. This Easter egg is the Ruined Lighthouse, and in this video I'm going to explain what makes this small addition so noteworthy. The first thing to take note of is that the Ruined Lighthouse was not made specifically for Lumber Tycoon 2, but rather for a showcase. This showcase, titled Marshall Point Lighthouse, was made by Defaultio in December of 2016. In the showcase, which is open source, the lighthouse can be seen in a non-ruined state with a wooden catwalk leading up to its door. Plugging the game's name into a Google search shows that the Marshall Point Lighthouse is actually a real structure located in St. George, Maine. This lighthouse received most of its fame from a scene in the 1994 movie Forrest Gump, in which the lighthouse is pictured. However, none of this information explains why the lighthouse appears in a ruined state inside of Lumber Tycoon 2, or why it is even there at all. In search of answers, I took a trip to Maine to see the lighthouse for myself, with the hope of finding any clues as to why it appears in Lumberland. This is the Marshall Point Lighthouse. The first light here was established in 1832, directing sea vessels around the Port Clyde harbor. The name of the lighthouse comes from the settler Samuel Marshall, who sold the land on which the lighthouse now stands to the United States government. The modern version of the lighthouse was constructed in 1858, with the catwalk and keeper's house being rebuilt over the years due to lightning fires. Centuries later, the lighthouse now acts solely as a tourist attraction, featuring a little museum that documents its history. While learning about the lighthouse's history was intriguing, it did not answer any of my initial questions regarding its existence inside of Lumber Tycoon 2. Nevertheless, there was one thing about the lighthouse that did provide some insight, that being the damaged catwalk. See, when I visited the lighthouse, the iconic catwalk leading up to the lighthouse itself was barred off due to damages suffered in the winter. This sign of degradation made me think about just how long it would take for the lighthouse to transform into its ruined state as seen in Lumberland. To answer this, let's go through each part of the lighthouse. The wooden catwalk is completely absent in Lumber Tycoon 2, which goes without saying as it would be the first part of the lighthouse to rot and decay into the ground. This process would only take around 50 years, meaning the ruined lighthouse should be at least 50 years old. Next up is the cast iron dome, which would begin to rust within days if not treated properly. In 50 years, the dome would experience more than simply rust, as it would begin to lose its structural integrity and likely collapse. However, because the lighthouse is not exposed to light or salty water, the rusting process would be slower, potentially giving the dome some extra time. As for the granite stones and bricks, their darkened appearance is likely a cause of efflorescence, where contact with the salt water degrades their white color. Due to all of this information, I suspect that the ruined lighthouse is at least 100 years older in Lumber Tycoon than it is in real life. With these facts identified, it is time to start theorizing. My initial theory was that the lighthouse was a remnant from Defaultio's Test 2 due to their terrain similarities and Test 2's previous connections with Lumber Tycoon 2. Yet when examining the timeline of Test 2's development and the showcase's release, the theory quickly falls apart. But wait, I figured it out. Look at the colors of the catwalk. They are white and brown. What else is white and brown? Birch and pine wood. Birchwood spawns most abundantly in the tropics biome, which was introduced in 2016, the same year as the showcase was built. Shockingly, the tropics also contains a beach. The original lighthouse is located in Maine, and what is Maine known for? Beaches and of course, pine wood. What else is Maine known for? Boats. That's right, the key to finally receiving boats in Lumber Tycoon 2 has been sitting right in front of us this whole time. all we need to do is wait approximately 100 years and then boats will automatically appear in Lumber Tycoon 2, case closed. In all seriousness, the Ruined Lighthouse likely serves solely as a throwaway Easter egg and nothing more. However, I do still have a theory that I believe is worth sharing with you all. Now, for this theory to work, two crucial assumptions must be made. 1. Lumber Tycoon 2's lore is congruent with Test 2, and 2. Test 2 takes place before Lumber Tycoon 2 chronologically. Now, while these are only assumptions, there is enough evidence to not completely dismiss them from reality. Anyways, my theory is as follows. In Test 2, the Ruined Lighthouse was constructed in its non-ruined state next to a large cliff. Years later, for unknown reasons, the climate of Test 2 suddenly changed, with the saltwater ocean draining rapidly. The receding water exposed the previously hidden ocean floor, which had been compacted down into square rocks due to the seawater's pressure. The topography of the ocean floor is where Lumber Tycoon 2's terrain originates. Over the next 100 years, all non-compacted rubble was swept away, sinking the lighthouse into the ground and collapsing the cliff above it to form the Tega Peak. This leads into today, where the Ruined Lighthouse remains inside its cave. While I believe that my theory does work lore-wise, I do have a more practical theory for why the Ruined Lighthouse exists at all. This is a map of Lumberland, and here's all of the main Easter eggs plotted on it. What I noticed with this map is that the dispersal of Easter eggs around Lumberland is relatively even, but without the Ruined Lighthouse, a major gap is left in this part of the map. So while it may be obvious, I believe the true reason why Defaultio placed the lighthouse here is to simply give players something to explore and theorize about in this region. Because after all, Lumber Tycoon 2 is a game about exploration and trying to discover the whole map before building up your dreams or whatever you build, I don't really know. Well, this has been a fun and kind of weird video to make. Despite the lack of any real answers, I hope you still took something away from the video, as I definitely did. If you're ever going to Maine, try to check out the Marshall Point Lighthouse, as while you won't really find much about Lumber Tycoon, you will be educated on that area's rich history. Anyways, I will see you all when the boat update drops in 21-24, but for now, goodbye!